Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright guys, today I want to talk about the new chapter that actually came in a couple of days ago, Boruto chapter 73. This chapter right here essentially ran down what the new mission for Team 7 is actually going to be. I kind of like it. It's kind of weird, kind of confusing, but I like it. I think it's a decent idea, specifically how Naruto and Sasuke explained it later on towards the end of the chapter. But essentially what happened in this chapter, which was like majority of the chapter, was essentially Shikamaru detailing exactly the situation to Team 7. Now, in my personal opinion, I think that this right here took up way too much time in the chapter. Don't get me wrong, the chapter was still decent in my personal opinion, just because of the sheer fact that we got a good idea and a good rundown of specifically what the next mini arc might actually look like, or at least the next chapter, or at least when Eida and Damon come back to the Hidden Leaf Village. But regardless, I think that right there might have been like a major waste of time. But regardless, we did get to see some of the reactions from some of the characters, and namely a character like Kawaki. And originally we didn't necessarily know that Shikamaru was actually going to detail specifically that Eida had a crush on Kawaki. Shikamaru just did it. He just spit it out point blank, period. Eida was absolutely flabbergasted. That right there was absolutely hilarious. But again, as I said, I thought it was very surprising that Shikamaru actually talked about that. Not only that, the reaction to the whole situation was a lot cooler than we kind of anticipated. Now, if you guys don't necessarily know, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys do know, Kawaki is a hothead. Kawaki doesn't necessarily follow missions the best. And of course, we still do have to wait until this whole situation plays out. We still do have to wait till Kawaki actually does meet Eida. We still do have to wait to see if they actually do hit it off. But for the initial mission request, this was taken significantly better than what I thought it would be. I thought that Kawaki would just go absolutely ballistic. Like, what do you mean I have to tie myself down to Eida, a girl that I have never met, just because of the fate of the whole entire planet? Now, again, logically, we all understood the situation, but for Kawaki to first hear this, and for Kawaki to be a person that's extremely defiant, I'm not gonna lie, I thought that Kawaki might have actually threatened to fight Eida when she actually did touch down to the Hidden Leaf Village. I thought this right here was a very pleasant surprise, and not only that, it was kind of surprising for Shikamaru to actually talk about this out in the open, because if you guys do recall, I mean, we already know, Eida essentially wants to have a pure relationship. This right here, in my personal opinion, is going to be very sticky. Eida, if she understands that Kawaki is being forced to be nice to her, that's not necessarily a pure relationship. Now, of course, it's not necessarily to the extent of her enchanting ability, but it's not necessarily going to be like a real genuine interaction whenever they do talk. And I think that Eida wants to have that real genuine reaction, mainly because everybody else that she talked to, except for Ishiki Otsuki, was essentially already in love with her. But during this chapter, Eida didn't necessarily talk about it as if she was kind of surprised, or as if she was like not necessarily wanting the situation. It seems like Eida is very happy with the whole entire situation. Eida is going to be cohabitating with Boruto and Kawaki. Eida is actually going to be face to face with Kawaki. In fact, she was extremely surprised that she was actually going to be cohabitating right as soon as she got to the Hidden Leaf Village. Now, in my personal opinion, I think that this right here is definitely a very good and smart idea for Shikamaru. The less people that Eida has interactions with, the better. And so as soon as she touches down, we need to have the house ready. We need to have the maids already in and out. We need to have everything already finished, furnished, and everything already put together, because as soon as Eida touches down and she looks at anybody, that right there is an immediate liability. The janitor could be a liability. One of the things, however, that I did kind of find interesting is the fact that Mitsuki and Sarada are also involved in this particular mission. Konohamaru is also in the room. I kind of talked about this on my podcast. It might be a situation where Konohamaru is still a member of Team 7 in the actual manga, but regardless, specifically talking about Mitsuki and Sarada might actually be affected by Eida's abilities. During this chapter, Shikamaru essentially detailed how Mitsuki and Sarada need to be like the surveillance for Boruto, Kawaki, and Eida. Now, obviously, they're not necessarily going to be in the same exact house. They're going to be monitoring the whole situation. And another thing, I'm not even completely sure if Eida's abilities are like completely null and void if she's just like over a screen. Like, for example, hypothetically, let's say if you show Naruto a picture of Eida, will Naruto now be enchanted with Eida's abilities? I think that right there is definitely a decent question. But regardless of that, the biggest thing for Mitsuki and Sarada, if something legitimately happens in that household, it is going to be a certain situation where Mitsuki and Sarada might actually have to enter the household and then be enchanted by Eida. And I think that right there is going to be a very big problem for Mitsuki and Sarada. Now, going past that, I think that this right here could definitely be a very entertaining situation. First things first, the whole Boruto situation. Boruto and Momoshiki, they are going to be on surveillance as well. I talked about Naruto and Sasuke talking about the whole situation earlier on in this video. Later on in the chapter, they essentially talked about how Boruto was also going to be on like a glorified house arrest as well, just because of the situation with Momoshiki. Not only that, Kawaki and Eida's relationship. Are Kawaki and Eida actually going to get along? Shikamaru detailed very plainly in this particular chapter exactly what will happen if Eida essentially goes wild, if Eida goes roughshod. He literally said she can actually take over the entire planet, and that is not an exaggeration. That is legitimate. She can legitimately take over the entire planet. So not only do you have the Boruto and Momoshiki dynamic at play, but you also have the Kawaki and Eida situation at play. Kawaki's conduct is going to be extremely important. Let's say hypothetically, Eida right now is completely head over heels for Kawaki. Let's say Kawaki then falls for Eida later on, let's say in a couple of chapters. If Kawaki somehow messes up, like legitimately, if Kawaki cheats on Eida, it's going to be worse than Ime Udoka cheating on Nia Long. But that whole entire drama, in my personal opinion, was also compounded by the fact that Momoshiki made an appearance in this particular chapter. Now, in my personal opinion, this right here only happened to essentially highlight the potential problems that they're probably going to have in this actual quote-unquote glorified house arrest. I don't necessarily think that Momoshiki really came there specifically for something particularly this time, just because of the sheer fact that when we did see the chapter actually come out, we then seen Momoshiki disappear. So it wasn't necessarily like Momoshiki wanted his presence to be felt. It was more of like the writer showing us like, yo, we got Momoshiki in a tuck. That's just my personal opinion. But of course, one of the biggest storylines coming off of that is the fact that Sasuke, along with Kawaki, but Kawaki's a little bit lighter story mainly because we do understand that Kawaki and Boruto, they have some elite sensory abilities. Boruto sensed Kawaki leaving the Hidden Leaf Village a couple chapters ago when no one else did, so I believe Kawaki probably has that same ability as well. Kawaki sensed Momoshiki, but the biggest one, as I said, Sasuke sensed Momoshiki. This right here isn't necessarily confirmed per text, but I believe the reason why he actually did see Momoshiki at first was because he had the Rinnegan. Now, of course, we're not saying that Sasuke has the Rinnegan right now, but Sasuke is showing some abilities from the Rinnegan, which is like, I don't know. I didn't necessarily expect that to happen. I'm one of those guys that believes that Sasuke is going to eventually get his Rinnegan back. At this particular time, I know prior I probably said something differently, but at this particular time, just because in my personal opinion, the manga is so close to the time skip, at least I think so, at this particular time, I expect Sasuke to actually gain the Rinnegan back if he does gain it back post time skip. For him to actually be showing signs about his Rinnegan right now, I thought that right there was interesting. And you gotta understand, it wasn't necessarily like Sasuke needed to say, hey, I sense Momoshiki. That did not need to be in there. I mean, Kawaki sensed it. If Kawaki essentially relayed that information to Naruto, it'll probably have the same exact effect. And not only that, we would have also seen it in the chapter as well, mainly because Kawaki sensed it. So for Sasuke to actually sense Momoshiki, I don't know. This has to mean something about Sasuke's character potentially getting the Rinnegan back. Again, I would be shocked if Sasuke has his Rinnegan back right now, if Sasuke has a fully functioning Rinnegan. But I don't know. This is just good signs all around for Sasuke. I absolutely loved it. But let me know what you guys think about this chapter in the comment section down below, and give me your opinions about the actual plan that my guy Shikamaru built up. The glorified house arrest. Like, are we calling it the house arrest mission? I don't know. But it's me, your boy Bar B, and we out.
It's a knife.